Strange. Okay. So I guess I'll just read this. Doesn't look like it's too long. Dear Congressman Espaillat, I am writing this letter of support for Heritage Health and Housing, who has serviced our community board in Hamilton Heights, Harlem for over 50 years with housing programs that focus on low to moderate constituents. The organization is working on a renovation project for their landmark building at 1649 Amsterdam Avenue, floors 4 through 7, of their 7-story building, expanding from West 141 to 142nd Streets. The Harry Simmons Residence Housing Project renovation will benefit single adults with a history of homelessness. The project plans to upgrade 84 units, create modernized kitchens, bathrooms, laundry rooms, new HVAC system, and common areas to improve existing living conditions for the single room occupancy SRO supportive housing program. This program works in partnership with New York City's HPD housing program. These supportive housing programs, like Heritage's, assist our community members with a foundation and a place to call home to thrive and become responsible adults in society. It provides a safe space for those who are unable to afford the rentals or home ownership costs. HHH contribution and dedication have been beneficial to the community. These resources from the Community Project Fund, CPF, will help direct the district continue to flourish with better living conditions, employment opportunities, sustainable and economic development. We affirm our support for this essential services project and the need for funding in our community. Please feel free to reach out to our office if you have any questions. So that's the draft letter.
I don't have any issues with it.
Sorry?
I don't see any issues with it.
Yeah.
Move to send this to exec for deconfliction with landmarks and health.
So
the people here are just in transition, right? There are no single moms or anything like that.
And they're already there.
Or,
They're just getting funding to upgrade the rooms.
but it's not for ladies with kids or anything like that. It's just single people.
Single adults.
yeah, they already live there. They're upgrading the services in the building and just overhauling the building in general. And they were putting circulation, which was why it came to the Parks and Landmarks Committee. I think that was like last year. I think it was only last year.
I think it was 2023, because they had gotten approval in 24. They had just gotten approval when I got there.
I could see your mock-ups from my apartment on the roof for that portion of it. Okay, so Barry has moved to approve this and send it on to exec, coming together with the health committee to make sure there are any other changes to it. Clayton has seconded. I do see Tiffany that you have your hand up. Do you have something to add?
Not about this specific project, but I just wanted to bring to folks' attention, if you guys haven't already seen it, that there was a New York Times article that was published about working class people making $19, $20 an hour that have put into what's called an employment shelter system. But we can talk about that another time. I don't want to delay this.
Okay, yeah, we can come back to that, Tiffany. So for all of those on the community board who agrees with moving this to exec, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone online who is part of the community board, if you have anything you'd like to add, feel free to do that now. Stop sharing. feel like I've got a lot of technology at my fingertips and it's hard to know where I'm looking at anymore. All right, good. So Patriana, we're all set. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we will connect with the Health Committee and we will see you, I believe that's this Thursday.
Yep.
Exec. And we will co-present this to the board.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna stay for the rest of the meeting if that's okay.
Please do, thank you. So we will continue with our agenda. I'm gonna bring this up. So share, so I'm just gonna bring our agenda back up so we can all see where we're at on this. So under new business, I just thought we would have let's try to cap this to 10-15 minutes. Because we do have a lot of other old business to get to. But I just thought it was appropriate for the housing committee to allow people to talk about what you all might be seeing locally or that you're aware of. I honestly don't know where exactly to start with what's going on in the federal government and DOGE as it relates to housing. If you just Google HUD and news, it's a lot, including they want to move out of my beautiful building in Washington, D.C., which I am not too happy about.
Beautiful is a relative thing.
Yeah. Yeah, put this back. So, I'm gonna put us all up on here. Maybe I will stop sharing so we can all see each other. Still have this wrong way gallery. So what has anyone, does anyone want to have anything to bring up as it relates to housing in our community and the changes with the federal government? I know that I've heard that the change from section 9 to 8 was causing a delay in payments
From Manhattanville.
for Manhattanville. Yeah, I think for all of NYCHA. And that the payments from HUD for that make up the rest of the full cost of each apartment, that they were not guaranteeing when the funds would be sent. And they were being sent like at the very last minute.
So that's anyone that's receiving Section 8?
Yes.
Wow, that's gonna affect a lot of people in the building. And that's 40% of the population.
And I don't know how they're gonna reprocess recertifications for Section 8 with a drastically lowered staff. Even though I know HPD bears a lot of that burden. But I think HUD does do the actual unit inspections. To like confirm the units are habitable. And so I would imagine that's a lot of backlog. I think also HUD aside. Maybe not, Grant who does the community development block grants, but the community development block grants are almost certainly going to have a job block. They fund a lot of things in the city. EYCD, HPD,
Right.
like those funds get put against a lot of issues.
And I guess in an upcoming election for mayor, there is no discussion about any safety nets or how New York City is going to respond to the concerns of the residents in the city that have questions about Section 8. All of that is kind of on the back burner. Are we in wait and see mode kind of?
The entire world is kind of waiting to see mode on a lot of things right
That
now.
would be true. That would
Yeah.
be true.
I am a fan of the proposed stop passing along tax revenue to Washington.
And my reality in preservation is that, I mean, we're seeing all the agencies get gutted and stripped. I was on a call today with the General Services Administration. They had, I believe, a 40-person team. The director of that, her last day is the end of the month, and she introduced me to the 5 people that remain today. And we're all expecting, in addition to the advisory council has been gutted. That relates to the section 106 process. It also relates to federal tax credits. Some of you may know that a lot of the NYCHA properties have been putting in for, I know, for better or for worse, historic tax credits as a means of making the numbers work. And New York State has been doing a whole heck of a lot of that
In our
in our neighborhood, right?
Audubon and Manhattanville.
Right. And the expectation is that the federal credits will go away. What are you laughing at?
I'm remembering the rationale for Audubon was that it was the
Hey.
first infill.
I checked,
I-
but then they made it look all funky and weird, so how
No,
did
they also said that there were cultural elements of people who lived in it that
On
are
that.
more than just the aesthetics, because you're not gonna get me to argue that that building is aesthetically a
No.
historic building, no. The HUD building in DC by Marcel Breuer, that's easier to argue for, even you would admit that.
Royer was the weirdo?
The weirdo?
Well, I guess it's just kind of safe to say that as this happens, if residents reach out to the board, because it's kind of boots on the ground, you don't know how it's affecting you until it happens.
Right,
And we just compile a list
right.
with all the other.
The other thing that we're not talking about, but that will absolutely affect housing, is the tariffs. Construction material costs are going to skyrocket. So building maintenance is about to get a lot more expensive. Construction is about to get a lot more expensive. Insurance payouts are about to get a lot more expensive, and thus insurance premia are going to go up even more than they already have. And what people aren't talking about is that this is essentially an enormous sales tax so that they can cut the income tax. They want to like make this Florida in that it's very expensive for people to buy what they need to live, but rich people won't have to pay much in the way of income taxes. Like, this is nuts. This is going to be really bad for like anyone who has to spend a significant amount of their income, which again is like everyone who's
Right,
not.
98% of the population.
Right.
Juan,
And we already have a huge problem with low wealth people who have are living paycheck to paycheck, going back to what you're saying. And I remember how gentrification is taken Harlem slowly, and that is going to increase in the next few years. But there is a little bit of hope, I think, because this guy Zoran, he's better than Clone. And I think people are gonna realize that if we don't, we're cooked. If there's a lot of corrupt people.
Already, but.
Yeah. We are half cooked already.
Already.
Even more. And I think in uniform, we were talking about how people in this area are really nice. I think when you're really nice, you don't really want to start any problems. And I think that after we had gotten punched so many times, it's kind of hard to fight back when the machine is already in the house, breaking things down.
Well, I think if there is any hope or encouragement is that as we begin to feel the pain in different ways, folks will realize that we're all in the same boat. And we just need to come together to offer information to each other and, just encourage each other to kind of take a stance. You know, we still have a voice. We're not dead. We use our voices and time rolls. I mean, 4 years seems like it's far away, but it's it's not necessarily that far away.
Midterm elections are coming, so
Yeah.
that's gonna be a little bit of
Yeah,
focus.
we have
And
elections.
people are very angry right now.
Mhm.
And there were millions of people on Saturdays in very big cities, so that says a lot. But then again, the first term was also the same, right?
But you said we have elections, asterisk for now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right.
I mean, you can only laugh because otherwise you cry.
You're right.
But,
Right.
we need to make sure we have elections in 2
Elections.
years and then 4. But, I think for us particularly, we should probably try to pay attention to whatever construction cost indices there are to get a sense of inflation in that category. Because if you think about the 1970s and you think about what rising building costs led to in New York City, I don't think we're going back there. But if this continued unabated for several years,
Right, yeah, I could see that. I think the other impacts that I haven't heard, I've also been my head in my job, but what's going on with my job right now is we're hosting an international conference in 2026. And we've just had to retool our event to be expected to be hybrid. Because none of my international counterparts want to come to this country. They're either afraid to, my organization has chapters all over the world, everywhere. And they are frightened to come. Their country now has a travel advisory against coming here, and so I think what's gonna happen, I haven't seen anyone talking about it in New York yet, is what's gonna happen in the summer with the low tourist season.
Yeah. And the countries in Africa, they've already started where citizens that could just enter without anything, now they wanna.
They're harassing anyone coming into the country, if you look slightly non-white American, they're harassing people coming.
even the white, I was about to say,
Oh,
even
that's
white
true.
women from Canada
Yeah.
are
They're
getting
going
locked
to
up
jail.
Right.
for weeks now.
Yeah.
Which is like, I guess good for them that it's like equal opportunity to an extent, even though it's not, but it's truly.
Right, well,
Right.
yeah.
I think they have quotas. and they have to
It's
fill them.
quotas, but
Yeah.
this is what we saw with the NYPD when they had quotas. Is that there are no scalpels in public policy usually, especially when it comes to law enforcement. You have chainsaws and that's it. And so when you want to ramp up enforcement and you want to violate due process, you're gonna have a lot of crazy shit.
But don't you feel like this is gonna be like Florida in like the mid-90s when just rich people bought everything up,
Sure.
I can see how that building across, that all this infrastructure is gonna be sold
Yeah,
to
it's
the
gonna-
highest bidder.
It's gonna be a good time to have liquidity.
Yeah.
Because everything's gonna be on sale, except the cost of living.
This is true.
So we're having this conversation here, in person. I don't know if there's anyone online who wants to add to it. You can raise your hand. If there's anything that you're seeing. Confirm your speaking language. Am I not speaking English? Somebody's listening. But I think that Annette's suggestion was good, that I would like to propose that we add this conversation about what's happening at the federal level to our old business that we track every month, and just really encourage everyone who's here today to spread the word that if something is happening to someone locally, as it relates to the federal disaster, to encourage them to come to our meetings, and make us aware.
I think there are also some publicly available indices of costs that we might want to add to the agenda and ask the staff to update every month. Like when they put our agenda out, just like update the monthly numbers, because I think it'd be worth watching those.
Like,
So BLS has a producer index for construction
of
costs.
construction costs.
Engineering News Record has a construction cost index and building cost index for construction versus maintenance.
Insurance? Is it,
Engineering News Record,
no, I know.
oh, insurance, I did look that up recently.
And I'm just wondering, because we're always going to have landlords that are bad actors. If it's possible, just thinking ahead, if they start to not receive their payments because of Section 8, that the city puts some, landlords and people who own property may not be happy about it. But you're going to need some kind of moratorium in place to help these people. You know, if a portion of their rent is coming in for some of them,
Right.
that's more than half, you have to consider it. People who own private property, they may not be affected because they don't have Section 8 tenants, but in my building, 40% of the population, and it's more than half because our apartments are fair market, that's gonna be a huge chunk of money for them. Now, I don't foresee them trying to evict people, but you just don't know.
Well, right, so that's what I was saying about the seventies, is on the one hand, you're gonna have an income shock, both to like everyday people who are gonna have less money in their pocket from prices going up, but also to building owners, if Section 8 gets delayed or cut or what have you, they're gonna have less less money coming in the door in revenue, and they're gonna have more money going out the door in terms of building maintenance and construction costs.
So the upkeep of the properties may begin to lack. And that actually looks even worse for some who weren't upkeeping it to begin with.
Right, well, maybe we'll have another wave of HDFC creation in our neighborhood.
Well,
HPD would never allow.
I'm worried about our HDFCs in general, and I know there are a number of people that were on tonight from HDFCs, and I think someone put in the chat that they wanted to talk about the
Bill.
HDFC.
Voted on a resolution.
Yeah, we did. That was like 2 months ago.
Yeah, the community board's official position is that we're in favor of that S-80, the Jackson Taylor bill.
Right. But yeah, I'm worried about our HDFCs in general because I live in one and I know the costs are, the insurance cost is
Up 25%.
astronomical.
Yeah, I'm now my building's treasurer again, and it is like eye-watering. People are like, why is our maintenance going up 4%? I'm like, better question, how is it only going up?
Right.
so by default, you guys.
Well, you know what? I don't need to buy any more sneakers. I don't need to buy any more shoes.
Susie Orman says no more shopping.
No more
You buy
shopping.
what you need, not what you want.
I'm missing you. This is SNL.
Shoes are going up 50%, they said. Yeah, and
My sandals.
better,
Listen, I went to Whole Foods today and I told myself I was tariff, trying to get in before the tariffs hit.
stock up.
Okay, and I don't want to discuss what my grocery bill was.
Oh, yeah, groceries are not good. All right, well, I'm gonna move on from this, but I appreciate everybody, and your thoughts on what's happening. And, Barry, if you have some suggestions for indices that we should track, for, our monthly agenda, we can add those. All right, so I'm gonna keep moving on in our agenda. It is 7:50. We are moving on to old business subcommittee task force reports. So the first piece of old business is the RKO Hamilton Theater Task Force. Which I believe is now being shared by Walter Alexander and someone else.
It's only Walter.
Is it just Walter?
Yeah.
I've been away for a month. Is there anything that has happened in the last 4 to 6 weeks?
I don't think there's anything else, but I know Anita sent an article from the Times out today where Hope who really is doing her best to get elected, to be elected to governor, so I would say if they have money to give that there, that they should have some money to give ours. But is it 15 million that she gave them, Barry?
No, I think it was 3.5. I saw that. It was low.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's not that low.
Yeah.
we would need a lot more than that.
So it would probably be best that we find out, or Walter finds out who is the point person on her
Right,
staff.
Is it Stacy?
No. Okay, behave. Next.
All
What's
right,
the next item?
Keep going. Legislation that we're watching, so, the first, piece that I've included is there is a sidewalk shed bill.
Isn't there always sidewalk shit though? It's like rats. It's like that
We
thing.
no longer have rats in New York City.
Sure.
But I think it's important. I'm gonna share my screen. Because we have written so many resolutions. And it is constantly a topic of conversation, about the, scaffolding all across the city in our neighborhood, that it's dangerous. That, building owners, often in our neighborhood and Upper Manhattan, abuse why scaffolding is up all the time. So city council passed this legislation. I think this was, yeah, this is March 26th.
What does it do?
What does it do? It is about the duration of
Sets a time limit. doesn't it?
right, yeah, and you have to renew the permits. Let's see.
So it won't be up for the next 20 years like it's
Right,
is in some buildings.
I'll believe it when I see it.
I don't see. Actually, I don't see the detail on this.
That's where the devil lives.
Well, because underneath this announcement, I see other bills introduced. But don't they have to resolve these into a bill? And then they established a sleep apnea screening pilot program.
Along with the rat birth control.
Yeah,
Those are Sean's, right? I think he talked about it.
was it sleep apnea?
Yeah,
He broke it up, she came on that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing intro 391 on some website, but oh, maybe that was 2024, so that's probably the wrong one.
This is what I'm saying. There are certain,
Oh, I see
Topics.
391.
there are certain topics that come up in New York City every year, and every year people pretend to be doing something about it, and every year nothing changes, mostly. The containerization is a big deal. But like, it's kind of like what economists say about $20 bills. If there were a good solution to the sidewalk shed problem, wouldn't we have done it already? Oh, look, DOB would have to complete a study. Okay,
That's gonna do it. I think this is one. It says The dates at the bottom are 2025.
Status enacted. Scroll up a little bit. Yeah, up, other way.
This one?
Enacted mayor's desk for signature. Anyway, not even sign it.
It says this bill would require the Department of Buildings to complete a study and recommend to the council the use of a new sidewalk shed designs by September 30th, 2025. Additionally, this bill would require DOB to what is this word? Promulgate, can't say it. Rules for the use of containment netting as a sidewalk shed alternative. This bill would also expand the allowable color palette of sidewalk sheds beyond hunter green
I like
because
hunter green.
that's important. Finally, this bill would increase the size of lighting installed beneath the sidewalk sheds for covering subway entrances, bus shelters, or other transit facilities. Increase the minimum height of sidewalk sheds to 12 feet with a lower height allowed in areas where egress light or ventilation would be obstructed.
It sounds like they're gonna make nicer sidewalk sheds.
Yes, I did hear it was gonna be nicer. I heard that there was going to be a limit on how long the sidewalk shed. I thought I heard it was 3 months
You know why that won't happen?
and that they were going to have to apply to renew the permit every 3 months.
I mean, they may have to reapply more often. But the DOB will never permit a shed to be taken down when there's a risk that piece of masonry falls off and kills someone. Nor should they, to their credit.
Right, there is also a study going on about local law 11 to retool.
They keep retooling that too, and like. The only constant with local law 11 is change. It hasn't been local law 11 for like 20 years. You just all call it that still.
Yeah,
It's FISP or LISP or whatever it is.
all right. And is there anyone online who wants to talk about sidewalk sheds? We will keep watching this and see if it's passed by the mayor, if there are changes to it, and what the actual details of the bill are. Other than being prettier. All right, I'm gonna go back to my agenda. The next piece of legislation we're watching is the Faith-Based Affordable Housing Act. I'm gonna go back here. So there is legislation. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to paraphrase this. From my understanding is that it will allow faith-based, I think it's, some of it is here, faith-based groups all across the state. This is a state bill for them to build housing on their properties.
I think it's tied to MH bars.
Okay. So this is the Senate bill. Co-sponsors are Cordell Claire from our community. In the Senate version, in the Assembly version, I know there are oh, that's it? I thought there were more. View additional co-sponsors.
I think last year's there and right is not.
Say that again?
I think last year's on the list, but I don't think right is, at
Oh,
least from the other website.
yeah, there were a lot more. Al Taylor. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone, if we want to take a position on this bill. I will say that in my community of historic preservation, my understanding is that there are elements of the bills that the perception is that, the bills is written, make. If this bill was enacted, that. It would supersede landmarking. And that, any building that is currently a landmark. That they would be able to demolish their building. And put up housing. Same with any new landmarks. And I brought up the page from. Greenwich Village Society for Historic Preservation. So they're saying is that the New York State bill would, for the first time, remove landmark protections for churches and other religious properties, allowing structures of national historic significance to be altered, built upon, or even demolished. Protections for churches and other religious properties that have been landmarked would be nullified under this bill, allowing developers to build market rate housing on site, so long as a fraction of the units, 1/4, are made available to below market rates.
That would be a no for me.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding from reading the preservation letter is that it doesn't apply to currently landmark buildings. So I think it pertains to, I think their concerns are about buildings that are not yet landmarked. So things that are like in the process.
My
I
understanding is
don't think it
that,
is that, like, I've read some stuff about it, and I don't think it does anything about buildings that are currently landmarked.
Yeah, it would surprise me that they could do
it
that.
says all parties agree that the bill does, impact all future designated landmarks. So this
meaning
is
something
the
that
letter.
is designated, something that is not designated right now, or something like.
So what they're saying is something, for example, something that might be calendared on the landmarks preservation, which means that they are gonna take it up, and you can't do anything in the meantime. That could be overridden as well as anything not even yet on the calendar. Even if it becomes landmarked later, it can still be demolished or altered. 1/4 seems like a very low threshold. The other concern.
It says, the bill would explicitly override any future landmark designations in relation to the types of developments the bill would allow.
I mean, it's one thing to allow development on property like grounds or parking lots or things. It's another thing to enable the demolition. And I think what's really frustrating to me is that this will not actually contribute much to housing supply, except for those religious institutions with large amounts of land, which are not that many. Because at least in Manhattan, if you think about our religious institutions, aside from St. John the Developer, there are not that many.
St. John, the developer.
Danny McDonald called. There were not that many religious institutions that had significant amounts of non-built up land. You know, St. Luke's has a little itty bitty bit of undeveloped land that is not National Park Service land behind it on Hamilton Terrace. But like, that's maybe a townhouse sized piece of their land. And a lot of other churches are like 100% lot coverage essentially. So unless you're a church with a parking lot, I don't see what this is going to do to be helpful. And it seems like a chainsaw that's not actually that helpful. It could do a lot of damage. But I could see if they made the text changes that Berman is suggesting.
Right.
Fine. Yeah, Lois is right, though. It's really hard to do adaptive reuse of churches.
Right.
Yeah, I think the other angle that like. Part of the reason they probably have relatively low affordability bars is because it's also a mechanism to try to like shore up church finance or base organization finances in the longer term, which are struggling and don't really have funding to
In this one.
often rehabilitate their stuff.
Well, that's happened to half of our churches in Harlem,
Right.
already, right?
Yeah.
I mean, developers and
Yeah,
corrupt church
How-
members.
How does this bill, I've been focusing on, you know, the negative aspects, but what is this bill actually seeking to do on a positive end?
goose housing production with some affordability requirements.
Say it again?
Increase housing production with some affordability requirements. Not a lot of affordability requirements, so.
Which means if a church decides that they want to allow a developer to build, there's a guaranteed certain amount of affordable housing that will be part of the project.
I have not read the bill.
It's the MAH bars. So there's like three options. You can see it on, well, I don't know if it's on this website. It's on-
Presumably it does apply to synagogues, Ms. Johnson.
Yeah.
But even the synagogues, like, they don't have a lot of land in Manhattan. They have high lot coverage as well.
All right, so I'm gonna ask the dumb question here. Are churches not allowed to build on their property?
The zoning laws as they exist, may have lot coverage limitations that make it hard. Well, I don't know, I think that's an excellent question. Yeah, what problem is this solving?
To allow religious
yes,
corporations to
sorry.
bypass restrictive and regressive zoning barriers in order to build affordable housing on their land.
Cause I didn't think.
Wait
I didn't get to read.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. Bypass local laws, how much?
Right, well, that is what the landmarks
Like, could
community
you
is saying.
could you do a 40-story tower on Hamilton Terrace on that little piece of land? Like, how much exemption from those zoning laws do they give?
I think according, the village preservation letter was saying the issue is like. That something that was like avenue scope could be done on the street side or something like that. But I think there is a requirement that it has to be like consistent with the broader zoning district. So like, I don't think you could.
Can we go to the
Yeah.
text? Organization must be mixed income to affordable. Age. But what are the,
Where are you?
I'm just skimming through what you got on the screen. Solely owned. 4 units. Primarily
The
residential.
property must be solely owned by the religious organization, who will typically partner with a developer to build the affordable housing.
Must be 65% residential, square by square footage, no more than 10 feet above the height otherwise allowed on the parcel. And 30 units per acre or 2.2 FAR, that's not that bad. For publicly finance, wait, what's the difference between those 2 points? If the property is located, the housing in here.
Density limits.
I think there's the MIH options and there's also 100% affordability options. Maybe that would make it eligible for like the tax credit, and then you'd be in the second category.
Or whatever the highest density is within 800 feet. Okay, and then light tech, what about light tech? Heavily subsidized, 20 feet category with actually density bonus, yeah, okay. Those FAR and heights aren't that bad. The 800-foot radius thing is not. Those FARs are pretty low. Probably because the other boroughs would have to shit fit otherwise.
Does this apply to synagogues? Yes. What percentage of residents would have to come from the neighborhood, if any?
Probably 25%, which is the new 50%.
The bill would preserve all existing laws and regulations which regulate how a property has been designated a historic landmark by a locality may be altered. In New York City, for example, this means that a faith-based organization wishing to alter a landmark church would be unable to do so before securing a certificate of appropriateness. Oh, good luck with that. That'll happen easily. Um. So what do we think?
I would support the text amendments proposed, but, well, no, I don't want to see the text amendments. Is this getting voted on in the budget?
In the budget?
Yeah, it's just part of the,
I would assume so. You mean the state budget?
right.
Yeah.
What's the status of the bill? How far has it gotten?
Where do you find that?
The top,
In committee at the assembly.
did it pass committee at the Senate?
No, it's, wait, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
Cordell's
It's
on
in,
this.
it's in the committee in the Senate, it's not in the committee.
Here, view actions,
It's at the top, that little flow chart.
Yeah.
the little flow chart.
Scroll up there.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, there's some honorable mention sites in here. They never create these things unless they have something in mind.
I mean, in our district, I can think of 2 sites. I can think of the church on Hamilton Place
On how 41st?
with the parking lot, yeah, for 139th, I think. It's a funny looking one that has like the weird Adobe.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
They have a parking lot and then,
Up the block.
and St. Okay, so St. Luke's, then also the weird, one that you probably like on your content.
Oh my God, the quarter, love it.
That's actually not that bad. And they have some
On Convent and which street?
140.
148. Yeah, 148.
It's the funky looking one that looks like an airport terminal,
It's the one that, yeah, it looks like
like it's from Brasilia.
Corbusier. Yeah, well, that would be Oscar Niemeyer, and it doesn't look like Oscar Niemeyer. Architecture, are you kidding me? It's like one of the things when people come to my neighborhood and I'm like, you wanna see some architecture?
49.
Take them to see US Hall.
Anyway,
With SEPA.
they all wanna go see the Adage, Adage, yeah, I know, I don't really love that building either, on 155th Street.
I love the inside. I love
Someone asked, is the church still open? Which one?
Is that church,
St.
which
Luke's.
church?
St. Luke's is not, the other 2 are.
So St. Luke's is not open, the other 2 churches are. So what do we think, kids? Do we want to jump into this by supporting these bills?
Has anyone asked us to support it?
No,
Then I would hold it for now.
okay,
And it'll give us time
To
to
really.
Yeah.
really dig in.
but I
But
do
Clayton,
know,
It was you who brought this to us, right?
no, it was me,
It's you?
it was me.
And Senator Claire is one of the co-sponsors or
Right,
sponsors.
right. And that's why, I mean, I thought, you know, the bill is being sponsored by a number of electeds in our community, and it would be good to talk about it. Yeah,
We
we'll,
should have their staff brief us.
that'd
Well,
be good.
thank you, Liz, for bringing this to our attention. All right, 8:15.
All right, 8:15, all right, moving on. Okay, let me see if I can get back to our agenda. J51, now accepting applications. Barry.
So J51 has been replaced by the creatively named J51 Reform, J51R. It is accepting applications for a very short window currently. I suspect they will extend that window. I think construction has to be completed by 2026. But it is a pretty good deal. It looks like they did update the reasonable cost schedule, which hadn't been updated since like the late nineties, I wanna say, under the old J51. So, the tax breaks will be juicier. And they added affordability requirements, so it has to be rent regulated housing where rent is not 80% or more of AMI. A Mitchell Llama Co-op and Article 5 of the private housing finance bill co-op, which I've never really understood, but they're like downtown. They're like the Depression era, post-war era, HDFC type things. And I think HDFCs do qualify, although HPD true to form did not explicitly say it on their website, but I think it is authorized in the statute and rules. And you cannot have more than $45,000 of assessed taxable value per unit in an owned building, which is
Really low.
no, it's not, because the taxable value assessments have no basis in market reality. Yeah. So
Did I also read that they've retooled it so that, anyone getting this credit actually has to prove that they did what they said they were gonna do?
actually, they were usually pretty good about that, because the city pays for this as opposed to tenants, and so they don't like to let their money leave. So there was a shit ton of paperwork, excuse my French, for the J51. They have beefed up no harassment stuff for tenants. And they removed the geographic requirement. You didn't used to be able to get J51s in Manhattan for large swaths of Manhattan. Now it's an affordability based criteria. And we should encourage buildings in our district to apply for it. Also, if you have rent stabilized units, they must remain rent stabilized through the duration of J51R, which is the same as J51 old. But they have to, like, I think, better prove that. So, I mean, it's mostly good shit. It'll be very helpful for HDFCs if they are allowed to apply for it, because basically you can deduct a fairly high percentage of your costs for your capital projects from your tax bill spread out over 12 years, I think, 8 1/3% per year. It's pretty good. But people gotta know about it, people gotta apply for it. It's good if landlords get it, because then you can sue the bejesus out of them if they deregulate your unit while they're getting it.
Fun.
Yeah. If anyone's in an HDFC, I encourage them to inquire, especially if they are facing capital repairs coming up soon. Also, heat pumps are included on the schedule of things that qualify. So if you need to do your local law 95 or get your tax breaks for it while you do
95,
97.
97, yeah, that's the next thing.
There's local
97.
law 95.
97 is the sustainability. Right?
95 is the energy efficiency rating one, right? 97 is the one that actually matters. If you're doing a local law 97 construction, you can get property tax breaks for it if you do your paperwork correctly. However, you have to do your paperwork correctly from the beginning.
Right.
You cannot start midstream on this stuff.
So I don't know if there are any questions about J51. If anyone wants to raise their hand or put a comment in the chat, we can just continue to move on since Barry already has, just with a note that local law 97, which relates to all most, not all buildings, right? It's like a certain number of units, most. That the first round of compliance for local law 97 starts this spring.
And it is reporting. So you have to file your reports by May 1st. I think there's a grace period until June 30th for this first filing, but do it. Otherwise, they have astronomical late fees for failing to file. Like tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, depending on the size, I think. And you have to say what your carbon consumption is, and if you're above whatever your building's threshold cap is supposed to be, you have to come up with a plan to lower your carbon output, or else pay a fine. And those, there's a step down limit. The first limit goes into effect now, or 27, I think. And then the second more stringent requirement goes into effect in 2030. So if you are forward thinking with your building, especially if you're a co-op or an HDFC co-op, and you spend this money now, and you get yourself in compliance with the 2030 caps for carbon, and you do all your documentation correct, you can get whatever energy efficiency money remains from Joe Biden in terms of incentives. Do that really fast. And knock the cost off your property taxes while you do it, if your building's eligible for J51R.
There you go, got all that, everybody? Money, yeah. So I would just say to all of you who joined us from HDFCs, definitely inquire into your co-op board or your management company and make sure that your building is ready.
New York City also had a New York City Local Law 97 accelerator, which I think was going to be working with HDFCs. The NYC accelerator. They were at the HDFC shindig that happened a couple of years ago about Local Law 97. So maybe reach out to them.
Sounds good. All right, we're gonna keep going. 822 developments we are watching. So last month there was a lot going on here that I missed, but I was seeing what you all were doing from afar as it relates to 1727 Amsterdam.
So we voted last month to authorize Victor to initiate or join existing lawsuits against HHC, the city, our residence committee, and any other delinquent parties that are attempting to circumvent ULURP. And our council member, Sean Abreu, there was a land use item that HHC had submitted to try to formally get control of 1727 Amsterdam Avenue, because despite lying to us for several years about it, they don't have formal documentation of any control over that site, formal. And so this was before the city council subcommittee on landmarks, public sightings, and dispositions, because it's a disposition, thus requires ULURP. And they tried to bundle it with 8 other properties and be like, look, we're just cleaning up our paperwork. They lied under oath about it, as they said no services would be affected by the change, when in fact they are attempting to evict heritage and
Reduce the services that they're going to give on that site.
yeah.
I said that out loud when I watched that video.
And Sean Abreu, our council member, removed the property 1727 from the list of properties that were being added to the lease. So big applause for Sean Abreu for not allowing that piece of property to be added to HHC's operating agreement with the city. However, we need to make sure that that property, no matter what happens, goes through ULURP, because it is city-owned property. HHC has sworn under oath in court that it is and always has been owned by the city of New York. Also, State Senator Cordell Clare has, in perhaps the fastest response from a state legislator ever to a community board request, introduced a bill in Albany to rewrite the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation Act to make it explicitly clear that, in fact, if they are disposing of any property that was ever city-owned or HHC-owned, it must go through ULURP. They do this by removing references to the Board of Estimate, which has not been around in New York City for 36 years, since the 89 charter. So they are updating that language finally to remove the Board of Estimate and to make it explicit that it has to go through ULURP. Arguably it has to go through ULURP anyway, but now they can't hide behind their state created status. So big support to Senator Claire for that bill. We need to get our other state electeds on it. We need to get it passed, and we need to.
Do you think that's the path forward for
I
1727?
think every path is the path forward. I think through the legislature is the path forward. I think through the city council is the path forward. I think through the courts is the path forward. I think through the Department of Investigation for them lying under oath is the path forward. Like every angle hit it hard until they just concede that they need to follow the law. And then we could actually use the agreed upon legally mandated process for gathering public input into disposal of city-owned land to determine what that project should actually look like. Instead of duking it out in court and in community board meetings that keep coming up for 3 years, because one good thing that for everybody about ULURP is that there is an end. And it is not interminable and drags on forever, which in their effort to circumvent it, they have now landed in this
Right,
guideline.
right. They would be done by now.
They would be done by now.
Wasted precious valuable time.
And not just their time, but everybody's
Everyone.
time.
Everyone's time.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sean Brady. Thank you, Cordell Claire. We need Sean to not let them do this without ULURP, because even in their made up process, will the Board of Estimate we go before the council and the mayor? In that made up process, the council still has the vote.
Right. So thank you goes to everyone on this community board and everyone in the community who came out and rallied against what was happening
Who came
there.
out to the meeting at Mount Zion Church,
Right.
who sent in written testimony. when
So
they
not
tried to
just the
sneak through.
electeds, but I think
Yes.
all of this is because of the community's reaction to it and actually showing up. So I think that goes back to our earlier conversation about what's going on with various governments and that, you know, we the people still hold the power.
If
Have
we-
a voice.
If we
Yeah.
organize to use it.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
Sorry, Barry, what was it that Abreu had abstained from in the city council?
he did not abstain. I don't know if he was present, absent, or saying he had a conflict of interest. But he did not, it looks like, according to Legistar, it doesn't look like he voted on it. But we did call his office and they confirmed that they were the ones who had it removed from the item. So he basically, for now, stopped that effort to give the property to HHC. For now, that effort, but progress.
Okay.
Telling it like it is.
All right. Do we have any other like things, you know, next steps, Barry, you said just was to stay on it from every angle.
We want to get Senator Claire's bill passed. We want to make sure they don't try another sneaky thing through the council. We are hearing rumblings that they really want to start construction sometime between June and December of this year, which of course is not possible if Heritage is going to be there until the end of 2026. They are in court now attempting to evict Heritage. Yeah.
What a disaster.
Yeah, because they didn't follow the procedure. Like, God almighty. Like, we were doing them a favor, it turns out. But
Can we show up to that court date and perhaps lend a support for Heritage?
they have a court date. I don't know if it's like all motion stuff or if there's actually gonna be like a court date, but if they do, we should absolutely show up and show our support. And those of you who are judicial delegates, please show up especially. Lois.
We don't have a date though. This is in federal court?
No, it's in state court. It's before Judge Janine Johnson
Okay.
Green. So if we need to look, we need to look up the court thing and see when the next appearance is on NICEF or eCourts.
Okay.
One quick question. Are heritage's plans that we talked about earlier today likely going to remain the same regardless of outcome here? Or do their plans for that site depend on this going through or this not going through?
Other way around, HHC's plans for that site depend on Heritage, from our perspective, having completed their project at the Harry Simmons thing, so that they have a place to go to, so that they are not
I see.
homeless.
But Heritage still intends to do that project even if they are able to remain in 145th.
I don't think they expect to stay at hundred.
I think that
I think
no
they're just
matter-
there because their project to move out just is not ready yet.
Right, and they also have, I mean, and they're also doing other good work on the Simmons building that is good to do anyway. But the I think it is pretty much a foregone conclusion that that site will be redeveloped somehow at some point. But it is an underbuilt site, it is a weird layout. It is an old building that probably costs more to maintain than it would be to build new. And so,
You're not gonna get me arguing on that.
yeah, I think none of us are arguing
Yeah.
that. I think it's
It's
just,
an opportunity.
yeah, but when you redevelop city land, you have to go through, like, as. For the record, I called like Bronx and Brooklyn community boards that also had sites on that list. And we're like, here's what HHC is trying to do with ours, just a heads up in case they try to do with you. Like, no, but they'd have to go through you learn. We're like, yeah, we know. They don't know, but we know. Like. So this is like, we're not crazy. We get told we're crazy a lot, especially around development projects. We're not crazy. Amtrak agrees with us on 701.
Mhm.
Every other community board agrees with us on 1727 Amsterdam.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
so it goes.
okay, well, we're gonna keep going unless there are any other questions. So the next on the list is St. Luke's. Just to note that I have heard that the reason why there are no lights under the scaffold is because Con Ed had cut the power to the building, but the building ownership is in the process of fixing those issues with Con Ed. And so the power should return to the scaffolding shortly. And various people have said that the noise that the community board has made to the ownership about the power has been heard, and that is why the ownership is going to remedy the issues with Con Ed. That's a good thing.
But no updates on selling it.
What did I hear? No. I don't think there are any updates on selling it. I don't think there are any updates.
Who's responsible for all the trash and debris on the property?
The ownership is, and UN has brought that up. I mean, we've all brought that up repeatedly and nothing has changed.
But is there, sorry, that should have been the question that I asked. Are there fines or fees if it's on their property? I understand if it's located in front, then it's different, but can DOS issue any fines or fees because of that?
I don't think sanitation, but maybe the Department of Buildings.
I think sanitation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's on the sidewalk.
No, it's not on the sidewalk. It's under the
The stair, for
front
example.
column. It's building material.
Oh,
It's
It's
under the-
There are boots, there's everything you can think of except the kitchen sink.
DOB, then I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, Tiff, you could probably call 311. Anyone can call 311 and file a complaint.
And then you send the complaint to UFTA, and DOB is actually very responsive to CB9.
Okay.
To know. Moving on, just a note, 356 Convent Avenue, so this is the Convent Avenue Baptist Church. Historic row house on the corner of 145th Street. I have seen that, the scaffolding has, gone up around the corner and extended out into the street, and my understanding, just from looking at it all, is that this is the remediation that's being taken by the church,
Yes.
and
which
not
they-
a demolition by the
Which
city.
they, in the church's defense, they put in their permits for that in 2019, and they were approved in 2024. This is an LPC thing. LPC sat on their paperwork for 4 years. So this is not, like we do deal with a lot of negligent property owners that like just allow their buildings to fall into demolition by neglect. This was not the case.
How did you find that out?
Through extensive conversations with the church.
Okay, well, we do have a public member of this committee. I don't believe he's here today, but we can have that conversation with him. Because that is very disturbing.
I mean. Pandemic, but
But you're causing a landmark building to get torn down by not responding to permit request or a certificate of appropriateness. Okay, all right. So that is the end of our old business. We have on here public member updates.
Petriana has her hand up.
Oh. Petriana?
Hi, I just wanted to embellish a little bit about what we were just talking about, and I heard you saying that, we are still the people. And I recently just got a text, that kind of like echoes, and it says, this is Community Voices Heard Power, an organization led by NYC tenants to fight for economic justice, safer neighborhoods, and tenants' rights. The rents are too high and our lives have become unaffordable. Americans are holding town hall meetings across the country, and uptown New Yorkers are joining this national movement. They're holding an uptown tenant town hall meeting on April 24th. And then will you invite your representatives to be a part of a nationwide effort to hold elected officials accountable? So, say it again.
Where is the town hall?
Well, it's, I'm gonna find out and I'll send it to you. But I just literally just got this text. I did just want to share it since we are on a housing committee meeting.
Yeah, and if you can put any of the details in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
or just, email them.
Yeah, because that is something we should get on our radar and maybe get folks to turn.
Right, well, that's the next thing, public member updates, but, public members, I don't know if we have, I forgot.
We did not. I don't know if we now do
What's that?
have public members.
Public members, I can't see this on here.
No, you didn't. I do not see any public members.
No public members.
Do we? Oh, there it is. I mean, she's.
But so this is the next things, the next thing is, if we should be organizing a tenants' rights workshop. We had talked about this in the past. It seems like this could dovetail into the issues that are going on with the federal government. I know that there were, I think Community Board 10, Community Board 7 have recently held information workshops for tenants. I'm gonna put the chat back on. Juan, I know you're raising your hand, but is this something that we want to do? Signe had suggested June, not because it needs to be June, but I think Signe is gonna be traveling until then. Juan?
Yeah, so, regarding that, my building back in the late 1990s, we got together, 436 Convent, 450 West 149th Street. So we fought the landlord when he took over the building. And, you know, people are nice, so we didn't fight after that. And so the SROs began, and then people started moving, and then there was overcrowding, and we were nice about it, so we didn't fight back. And now the problems are immense. We have huge deterioration of that building. And now it's going into the streets where we have double parking on Common Avenue. I brought it up to the 30th precinct. They did something to stop them, but now the double parking is all over 149th Street. And I saw what people have done to the church on 141st Street, where they changed the stop from one side to the other, and they ticketed every human people who parked their cars in that
The
area.
bus stop.
But on 149, you can have a car every night on that fire hydrant on 149, that all the church that you were
Right.
talking about?
Yeah, the Christ
And-
church.
Oh my God, I brought it to the accountant. And he looks the other way. I brought it to the precinct so many times, they look the other way. And then you go 311 and it's the same thing. And at this point, I'm just looking for my safety and the people in my building. You guys don't believe me, walk at 8 o'clock on 149, you will see car after car after car in a row of 12, 13 cars, double parked. There is no way a fire truck or an ambulance can get through that street,
Yeah.
and they refuse to. They
It's not a
refuse
church.
to.
Even if not on Sundays, it's like every day.
No, on
Yeah.
Sunday, they go and they ticket people from that church. It is despicable. And these are African American churches who have been here for what, 50 odd years? That one on 145th Street deserves every perk. If you wanna double park it, you should be, they built this community. And they choose their fights, and I am up to here with this. I just sent you guys the letter from Sean Abreu. He just gave me homework. That is not a letter that I can take to a court to show a judge about what's happening in my building. People just look the other way, and I tell you, we were nice. We didn't fight back, and this has cost us. Right now it's 2025, and you have people in my building who live 20 plus per apartment. All the Section 8 apartments in the first floor are no longer taken by people with those vouchers. You don't believe me? Go in there,
I believe.
look it up, look it up. We started, when I moved in 1993, there were only two or three SRO apartments, okay? Maybe two, okay? Now, more than 50% of that building. Who knows who the tenants are, but they live a lot of them there. And we just look the other way because we're decent people, we don't want fights, you know? But it cost us a lot. Now we have breaks all over the pipes and whatnot, so I'm asking for your help, guys. And he uses two different addresses so that you don't catch him. It's 450 West 149th Street, and the other one is 436 Compton Avenue.
Who's he?
Jack Atias, my landlord.
Yeah.
Jack Atias, my landlord. 436 Compton, 450 West 149th Street.
Hmm.
I'm going to court on August 2nd. I'm gonna get as many as of the people in my apartment, in my building, and I just did this petition signing for Tiffany.
Yeah.
I had less than a dozen of the people that I lived with when I moved in there. This is a 45 unit building. It is scary.
So I'm also just bringing up the link that, Petriana put in the chat for, Community Voices Heard.
Where is that again, the location?
I don't know if, I don't know that they're take action events. Coming events. So Uptown Tenants Town Hall, Upper Manhattan, that's certainly big. Thursday, April 24th, 6 to 8. Is that the same night as the full board?
No, full board
Oh,
is
it's the 17th.
17th.
Yeah, the old parking is insane in this area.
Yeah, I saw Lois say that as well. All right, thank you, Juan. We're gonna keep going with our agenda. So we should, I think we should continue to talk about if we want to hold a tenants' rights workshop, if we want to partner with another community board, if we want to look at this uptown group. I did see Sydney was showing me, I think it was Community Board 10 had held a really great tenants workshop. So I think it would be best if her and I were together for us to look at that and see if we want to put something together.
Also, last month, I think Lucas from Senator Clear's office mentioned that they would be able
They would be
to support.
interested in, right, she said that, yeah. Other things, NYCHA updates, do we know what's going on with Manhattanville and if things have gotten better over there? Do you have any sense, Annette? No. Morningside Heights Community Coalition.
So you saw the emails that I sent like to everyone, it seems like at the city council land use division.
Right,
So there's a new person who's in charge of our rezoning. Um. And I'm really frustrated because once again, they're like, we are their co-applicant on this rezoning. And they cut us
Right,
out of the
right.
loop and
I remember
dealing
that.
only with. Hannah Peters is the person. So they've been like dealing directly with NHCC. And NHCC has been asking us to help get this thing moving. But city council land use won't respond to our emails. So we finally got a response. And they are supposed to be giving us an update on the EAS, which should be done by now, honestly. But so that is where we are. I think we need to keep on top of land use division. The way they've been conducting themselves is not really acceptable. And I get that like this is a new thing and it's the first time we've done this and they're experiencing staff turnover, but like if you have the staff to talk to MHCC, you have the staff to talk to the community board that's your co-applicant.
doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay,
When they're talking to the community board, is that primarily through you and Victor or Zach, or like what's like the body they?
Liz, Victor,
Beautiful.
youth, when there are updates, when something changes, we bring it to this committee, but not a lot has changed, I would say. Because I mean, we've been bugging them for an update for a year,
Seems like longer than that.
right? And yeah, the project manager left, but that was planned. But then it seems like the Manhattan director left and that was not planned. And then Arthur is not responding, so. I'm sure they're very busy, but just tell us.
Are there any till updates?
Oh, there are. HPD put out a new term sheet for ANCP. They are spending a stupid amount of money on these buildings. They are spending, I think it was like $400,000 to $500,000 a unit to rehab these things. I don't know who's stealing what money, but like, that is not
And
within
what till buildings are they actually putting money into?
whatever they can give to a developer when it fails to convert to an HDFC. That's what I'm thinking. But,
Can you,
yeah, it's, let me send you the. It's on the. Till. If you Google ANCP term sheet, it should come up. But like, I mean, I want this done.
I see
I
it.
want these till buildings rehab. But I swear they're baking in the costs of relocating
You're a
people and
meatball
paying.
sister.
Yeah, it's like.
$560,000 per unit. You could buy people market rate apartments
At that
with that
price.
money
Right,
and just move them in there.
right. Interesting.
Like,
All right, well, can we table till next month?
yeah, it is budget season, but like, this is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. They did also, so I think they've been trying to prevent them from doing.
And this is
private debt.
the PDF, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
so I think they're trying to stop having private debt, like non-HP loans. They're trying to use state money to cover non-capital eligible things, but like. So I suspect, just for context, that much of those costs per unit are the fact that they are paying market rate rents to move people into apartments while they quote, do the construction, unquote, except they don't do the construction for 10 years. So that's a decade's worth of market rate rents baked into the cost of supposedly rehabbing the building.
yeah, that's nice. I just put the PDF in the chat. Well, if we still have time, yes, Tiffany? Thanks for doing this.
But
Tiffany, I
just,
think you're frozen, Tiffany. Tiff, can you put it in the chat? You've frozen. Racial inequities in New York City's property tax system. Is this maybe this was the thing that she wanted to talk about earlier?
Y'all do see the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's 8:52. We're gonna wrap.
we can table this for the next time, but I just wanted to put out there that this is from the Furman Center. No, outside, please. This is from the center. Found that African Americans in New York City owners pay about $1 million more in property. I'd like to see if, something for me to learn community. What about Harlem, uptown? But regardless, it shouldn't be happening anywhere. And I'm just hoping to bring attention to that. Thank you, Lois, for also pointing it out.
Great. So I pulled it up and I will take a look at it and share it with Sydney. For the next meeting.
All right, great, thanks.
Thanks, Tiffany. So I think, so that wraps our agenda items. I think the last piece is action items. So we do have one action item, which is the letter of support for Heritage Health and Housing that we will, that I will work on with the Health Committee and present at exec for approval this Thursday. Other than that's the only action item that we have. Is there anything else that we neglected to go over tonight? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us tonight, for all of your conversation and insight into what's going on in our neighborhood. Thank you for joining us. So we are adjourned.
What time did you start?
6:40, and then officially, I think it was 6:46 or 6:48. No.
Sorry, I'm gonna.
All right, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Again.
I am stopping the recording.